Hello and welcome to round 2 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast. I'm Catherine Haleko and I'm here with Terri Morrow. Say hi, Terri.
Hello.
Usually on this podcast we talk about parenting issues, but once a week Terri and I like to get together to discuss TV, movies, books, and other entertainment topics because it's nice to talk about something other than parenting for a change. This week, we're talking about the West Wing episode Bad Moon Rising and continuing our challenge rounds with the movie Argo. But first, the thing that everybody is talking about today, the Oscars.
The Oscars.
So the Oscars were Sunday evening and, there was a whole 3+ hour long show that no one will ever talk about or think about ever again because of what happened in the last 3 minutes. It seems as if what happened was that the presenters, who were Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, were given the wrong envelope.
Yes.
So when they went to announce the Best Picture, they had the envelope that said Emma Stone for La La Land. So they said, oh, La La Land is the winner, which turned out not to be the case. So It was very, very dramatic.
It did appear that Warren Beatty sensed something was wrong. I assumed he was just milking it, and I'm thinking, oh, come on, you old hack. Just read what's on the card, which is apparently what Faye Dunaway was thinking, because she just looked over and said it. But yikes.
Yeah.
Was that an awful thing to happen? Just on so many levels, an awful thing. So, and I was doing my usual, working while watching. So I wasn't paying, when it was producers giving speeches, who cares? So I wasn't really listening until I heard the guy said, but we didn't actually win. And then,
we lost, by the way.
What? So I feel just terrible for everybody involved in that. And on both sides.
Yeah.
It just looks so bad. I mean, I guess the only thing that would have been worse is if Moonlight had been called the winner and then they had to take the Oscar away from them and give it to La La Land.
Right.
But either way, just not good. And the whole ceremony, I just, like you said, nobody's ever going to talk about the rest of it. This is all anybody's going to remember. But that's probably a good thing because most of it was not good.
I mean, in general, but there were some, I thought Viola Davis had a really great speech. And also the director of Moonlight earlier, I think he won for screenplay.
Yes.
And, talked about this is for the Black and brown and non-gender conforming kids. And, there were some messages like that and some just cute and funny moments too that were, like I said, will never be. Let us never speak of them again.
Yeah. But there was also, I mean, this did nothing to endear Jimmy Kimmel to me.
No.
I really have not liked his hosting that I've seen in the past, and I really did not like this. And, did we need, how long did that people on the bus thing go on? 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, that was a little
It seemed
long
to go on forever. This is not why we tune into the Oscars.
Yeah, and I liked the little shtick they were doing where people talked about someone who inspired them.
Yeah.
And then they presented together. I liked that. But then to use that for the payoff of making fun of Matt Damon for We Bought a Zoo, that kind of cheapened all the previous ones that
it really did.
That were good.
Plus, it started halfway through the ceremony. If you're going to do something like that, you start it at the beginning and it goes all the way through.
Right.
Right? You don't just kind of start it at some point oh, hey, we just thought of this idea backstage. Let's do this.
Hey, looks like Shirley MacLaine's here.
Weird.
Good, we're set.
Yeah, and I mean, at what point do we get to stop with the feeding the audience jokes? I mean, It was kind of funny when Ellen did it with the pizza. And then we had the Girl Scout cookies and Chris Rock. And then we had Jimmy Kimmel giving people peanut butter sandwiches, which was problematical in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And now there's food coming from the ceiling. Really?
Right.
There's no better ideas in the big bag, award show jokes than that. Mm-hmm. That's what we're down to.
Yeah.
All right.
I did see someone tweet that, it may have seemed a little bit odd that they kicked it off with Justin Timberlake doing his song.
Yes.
But then that meant that there was really no big monologue. So that was kind of a good thing.
But then there was a monologue. He did do a monologue.
He did. But it was maybe
good.
shorter than it would have been otherwise. I don't know.
It was just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Justin Timberlake. That's fine. But then have him host.
Mm-hmm.
He would be a perfectly engaging host.
Mm-hmm. I was going to be mad if that Troll song won for best song. I mean, it's a fun,
it really
peppy,
is.
Catchy tune, but it's from the movie Trolls. Come on.
Yes. I mean, the absolute only rooting interest I had the entire night was in Lin-Manuel Miranda getting his EGOT, and it did not happen. And I'm sure he will be a perfectly charming, good sport about it. And some other Broadway people were involved in the La La Land song,
right?
So that's cool. But I did feel. I mean, I think that the young woman who sang the song from Moana, who actually sang it was the voice of Moana in the movie.
Yes.
She did a lovely job. I would have liked her to be in a dress that allowed her to move from her single standing spot. Mm-hmm. And I also, all that stuff going on in the background, oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. It was like a bad, what is it you call it in high school where the kids wave the flags? We don't have that at our high school. We have majorettes, but
silks at our school.
There's a big thing of that now in high schools. Mm-hmm. High school bands have that, and I swear I saw that number in a high school gym somewhere, and they hit her at one point. What the heck?
She was already doing such an amazing job for being 16 really years old, standing up there in front of all those people.
With that stuff going on in the background.
Right.
Just tone it down by about 15 flags, and I think it would have been fine, but it just was so distracting. And I mean, and she, God bless her, she deserves a trooper medal of some sort for just standing there and singing so poised and professionally. As she's getting bonked in the head by a flag. We can do better. You know what? Oscars, you can do better, really. Mm-hmm. So I was sorry that they didn't win, but I guess it was somewhat expected.
Right.
I guess there were no really awful dresses to make fun of, which is...
No, there really weren't.
Takes a lot of our fun out of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Nobody was dressed as a swan or in anything...
I did not enjoy Haley Steinfeld's sheerness. I mean, that's like definitely a trend that's been going on for a while. But there was, I feel like, less of it on the red carpet. But then she came out and presented, and she had to hold her hands in front of her body to keep herself TV appropriate. So
that is something that nobody has thought that through, how that's going to look on TV. Somebody should have said, maybe this is not the best choice. And I would have very much loved at some point in the ceremony to see how Janelle Monáe sat in that dress. I mean, they did show her in the audience, but you couldn't that really skirt required 3 or 4 seats on either side. Mm-hmm. So either it was removable in some way, I don't know.
Yes.
I would have liked to have seen the mechanics of that. That would have been entertaining. I would have liked to have seen some of those actresses fitting into those theater seats. Mm-hmm. We could have had a shtick on that and dropped like 5 or 6 of the other little shticks. Right.
There we go. I like that suggestion.
Put that in. I imagine some low-level Oscar employee being in charge of removing the large skirts when the ladies sit down and then fetching them when they have to go up on stage for something. Mm-hmm. There's an intern in charge of that. There's like a pile of skirts.
Just like they have seat fillers. They have like skirt wranglers.
Skirt fetchers. They just took right on,
Yeah. So... Another year, so that was an interesting lot of movies that I haven't seen, so I can't work myself up into too much of a frenzy over who won and who didn't.
That was the Oscars. I was very happy for Emma Stone. I mean, I don't know if I should be happy for very young actresses to win things, because oftentimes it turns their career in a direction that is
she really
not helpful, but she just seems adorable.
We'll move on we'll close up the Oscars 2017.
Yes.
And move on to the West Wing. We actually are going to get back to the Oscars of 2013 in a few minutes. But first, we're going to talk about the West Wing. This week's episode was Bad Moon Rising.
Yes. As we move further into this run of 5 episodes about the president revealing that he has MS and that he concealed it from the public. So I love that opening scene, even though I know where it's going now. Did you see where it was going with that tape recorder and the large hammer?
No, I actually didn't. But it was enjoyable when it did happen.
Yes, I enjoy it now knowing, just seeing how they set up the joke about the recorder, the joke about the gavel. And then as Bartlett is talking, you see the scene from behind and you see those 2 objects sitting on the desk, and it's just, you just know. It's very nicely done. I really, really like that. And I like that character of the, why am I not able to think of the lawyer's
The White
name?
House counsel,
Yes.
Oliver Babish, played by Oliver Platt, who's
very,
great.
Very well, yes. And just the way he starts asking those questions and the way it starts becoming apparent how there will be trouble. And the whole bit with Charlie using the friend from home that we've had set up for us in previous episodes.
Right.
So nicely paid off here. Mm-hmm. Don't know if it was intended that way or if he just thought of it later, but it was nice that it had been previously planted so that when he says it, there is such weight to it. Yes. And Margaret and Mrs. Landingham just look with big eyes.
Like, oh my goodness. Something big is going down.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is.
Yeah. Charlie keeps his ears open, apparently. Mm-hmm. Stuff does not get by him.
Well, isn't it later revealed that Zoe told him?
Yes, but he has picked up the fact that this information is going to be out there now. And that the wheels are starting to turn. So he realizes that it's going to be a problem. And, that the lawyers are involved.
Right.
So.
And we never find out what happened to the previous White House counsel, John Larroquette, the one who hired Ainsley. And
yes,
Lionel Tribby. They predicted they explained in the podcast, they thought it was just a matter of John Larroquette wasn't available.
Yes,
so they went.
But I think
Oliver
that
Platt.
As much as I like John Larroquette, I think for the weightiness of this plot line, Oliver Platt is a better choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like him. I think he's doing a great job.
Yes, so. And we'll continue to, and just dark days ahead for our merry band of public servants.
Right.
It's going to get worse.
Although, and then the comic relief was everyone going into CJ's office and confessing to terrible crimes.
Yes, a funny plot line necessitated by the serious plot line because Toby knows what's coming, that he overreacts in this case.
Yes.
So that's a nice tie-in that oftentimes doesn't get made. But so there's even that silliness has sort of an undertone.
Right.
Soon we will be doing this in much less pleasant circumstances.
Right.
And also the little flirtatious thing between Donna and Josh of the phone calls back and forth yes. from fictitious people, creating a fun way to debate this issue.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the whole thing with Sam and his cargo ship that was actually, I mean, it was pretty hard for me to follow what how he and Ainsley were getting pretty lawyerly there when they discussed it. But it was a fascinating jump back to the very first In the Shadow of Two Gunmen.
Right.
Coming back. The flashbacks.
Right. That was nicely done, bringing that back. Again, don't know if it was intended that it would come back later when it was originally done, but now knowing it was going to, that scene has so much weight when you see it in The Shadow of Two Gunmen.
Right.
But poor Sam, his things are about to get... He's had a lot of ideals smashed this season.
Right.
And It's
just gonna keep coming.
You just see what's coming for these guys. It's very, CJ is aware now that something is up, and
right, because she says Toby is lying to her. She figures that out.
Yeah,
so.
He's not hiding his worry and upset very well.
So what's coming next is called The Fall's Gonna Kill You.
Yep.
So again, like you said, continuing on the MS.
Yes. And people finding out. There's a wonderful Joey Lucas scene coming up, and I think it's in this episode. Okay. And I'm really looking forward to it. Good. So, the return of Marlee Matlin in that role.
Very good.
Yes.
So that's the West Wing for this week, and then we jump into our challenge round. Yes. So since it was Oscars week, I decided to challenge you to a past Best Picture that you have not seen, which is Argo.
I have not seen any recent Best Pictures at all, including pretty much anything from the Oscars we just watched. So I don't get, a friend was asking me, you didn't see this? And the answer, of course, is I don't get out much. So Argo is one of those movies that I had thought, hey, you know what? I would like to see that. And then I just never did. And I've never caught up with it because I always think, well, I'll catch up with it on demand or whatever. Right. And I never do because I barely have time to watch the things that are on my DVR. So it turns out that this was actually on demand, so I could watch it on TV instead of on iTunes. And it was nice. I really enjoyed it, and it was one of those movies where even though it's historical and I know what's going to happen, I was still just you're agonizing in suspense.
You're on they really do the tension. I mean, you just really spend the entire movie like, this is never gonna work. They're not.
And that opening scene, oh my gosh, where they have the embassy being taken over. Wow, that was just so scary and so excruciating. And when they're putting blindfolds on people, I said to my husband, they're going to shoot them. And he goes, nobody got shot. And then I realized, this is history. And they just were taken hostage. But I just got so wrapped up into it that it seemed, imminent peril. And just the whole way they staged that.
And the way you just see the whole embassy takeover, first they're on the street and then one person climbs over the fence and it's like, oh no, here we go. And one person gets over the fence and then they're at the door and it's very, very dramatic.
And then the end, the whole escape thing, I was running in and out of the room because I couldn't take it. I'm very bad with suspense. It's even though I know that I'll get out safely. I know the end of this, and yet it was excruciating. So that's good. They did an excellent job of making it suspenseful and scary, even though it's history that's long over and you can read about it. Right. I was very impressed with that. I would have liked to have had about 30% more John Goodman and Alan Arkin.
Right, comic relief.
I was very sad when they just sort of dropped out of the movie entirely, and happy to see them again at the end, but not enough of them. And, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not like they went over to Iran with him and did all that stuff. But still, I missed that part. I wish there was more of them.
Right. I mean, they were absolutely critical to keep you from just fainting from...
Yes, we needed to maybe cut back to them a few more times doing their shtick, telling their jokes and waxing wise about Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Arkin is the best.
Wonderful.
And John Goodman, they're both.
Yes, they were both just delightful and perfect. And Bryan Cranston was fantastic as his boss.
Yes, as the CIA boss.
Yes. All the 70s fashion and facial hair. Just
the glasses sad. In particular, the glasses on the two.
Oh, those massive glasses.
Guys who were in the embassy, and I thought, wow, I mean, all they need is some different glasses, and they are completely different looking people. You are not going to recognize them at all.
Yeah. Oh gosh, all the squirrely 70s stuff, and both in the CIA and the White House as well, just very nicely done. Right. I like shaggy Ben Affleck. That's a good look on him. You should keep that.
Yeah, I think the one thing that they could have done better, well, I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but the one thing where I think it falls apart a little bit is convincing the audience as well as the Iranians why they chose to go to Iran at this moment.
Right.
You know, we know that there's 60 American hostages cooling their heels in the embassy, and this film crew is like, we'll just go over there. That's, you know, they say a few times, well, you know, everyone knows that Hollywood would go film on the surface of the sun if it was cheaper, but really everyone doesn't know that. And so
I think what I felt the lack in was the kind of flamboyance that you see in John Goodman and Alan Arkin's character. I was expecting Ben Affleck to have to put that on while he was there, that when they came up with a conflict, it would be some of this Hollywood razzle-dazzle.
Right.
That, you know, those old guys would do. You know? And instead he was just quiet and not saying anything, which seemed like a little void in the plot, in the plan to me. You know, finally one of the guys they're getting out provides that a little bit at the airport when they're at the last minute. He suddenly starts talking and doing all of this stuff, and it gets the airport guys caught up in it and kind of gets them through. Right. But I that was odd. But it was interesting. I was reading up a little bit afterward about the actual situation, and one of the guys that they got out was saying that really the movie plot was not used on any of the officials to get them out. It was really mostly served as something to give them confidence that they would be able to do this. So it wasn't, you know, most of that was all made up, and all the suspense at the end. Well, the whole thing of like the car, because it's a movie, the truckload of revolutionaries chasing the plane on the runway, I believe that didn't happen in real life. No. And they said they never actually even went out on a location thing. That would have been impossible. Yeah, that was super scary. Yeah. But it was. Yeah, I mean, you have to have that stuff for it to be a movie, and that's perfectly fine. But I was kind of looking forward to seeing the Hollywood type, you know, dazzle and charm and star strike the officials, and that didn't really happen. And it's sort of like, well, then how is this going to work? Wasn't that the whole plan? So, but it was, you know, still perfectly watchable and good and well done. And, you know, I'm glad I got a chance to watch it, even though there were parts of it that I was saying, I don't like suspense movies. Why did I agree to watch this? And I don't really either, but I remember enjoying it when I saw it, and that there was enough humor to keep it manageable. And we know how it ends. Yes. We know they get out. Exactly. We know nothing happens. We know planes go faster than trucks. So it's all going to be fine. Oh, boy. So anyway, well, thank you for that. Good. That was enjoyable to watch. Glad you liked it. And now you have something for me for next time. Yes, it's my turn now. And for some time, I have been wishing you would watch the movie The Last 5 Years, because I watched it on Netflix and enjoyed it and looked forward to talking to you about it and kept telling you should watch it, and you did not. So now that I have the power to force you to watch something, watch that sad, sad film. I think it goes well with the darkening episodes of The West Wing we have here, as you watch these idealistic people get their hearts broken, then turn from that to watch two very attractive young people get their hearts broken. So, you know, let's everybody watch The Last 5 Years. It's available on Netflix. It is all sung, so you've already watched it in a way by listening to the music from it on your Broadway channel. Right, I've heard a few songs. I definitely haven't heard all of it, but I've heard some. So the particular conceit of this work is that it's a love story told in both directions. One of the partners is telling it backwards, and one of them is telling it forwards, and you alternate scene by scene for maximum heart-wrenching grief. Okay. So even the person who's happy, you know, you just heard how that ends. Right. So we will watch that, and I also encourage everybody we will provide a link for this on our show notes for next week, but there is an article by Linda Holmes on all the songs in the last 5 years ranked by order of heartbreak.
Oh.
So we will want to review that as well, but read that, Catherine, after you've watched the movie. So y'all get your tissues, and if y'all are following This Is Us, don't watch it on the same day that you watch this movie, because you will run out of tears. You will have to be hospitalized.
Right, you will be dehydrated. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind, and that's going to be it for our round 2 today. For next week, we will then watch the West Wing episode, The Fall is Gonna Kill You, and the Last 5 Years, the Challenge movie. Plus, we will also talk about my next book club book, which is called The Postmistress by Sarah Blake. Okay. So, please subscribe to our Parenting Roundabout podcast so you won't miss any of our episodes, including our daily speed rounds and our weekly group chat. As always, you can find recaps, links, and an improved opportunity to comment on our website at parentingroundabout.com. Goodbye, Terri.
Bye, Catherine.
Bye, everyone.